Hi there. Thank you so much for tuning in to a new episode of Worlds Collide with me, your host, Victoria. This is a podcast where I talk to people who moved abroad, and I'm so glad that you tuned in today. Welcome. So, just a quick note if you haven't done so already, don't forget to push the follow button in the corner of your app so you will never miss a new episode. And if you're listening on YouTube, then don't forget to subscribe. And also, if you want and if you don't mind, then why don't you give the podcast a 5-star rating at wherever you listen to this podcast? Okay, so enough of that. And I want to come to it. I want to come to today's guest. Who is it? If you are already a little bit more familiar with the expat community on Instagram, you might have come across her account. My guest today is Angi, and her Instagram account is called Expats in Switzerland. And she is this very multicultural young woman who lives, as you guess from the name of her Instagram account, she lives in Switzerland now. She grew up in Laos. So we talk about why she ended up in Switzerland and how she likes it and what her plan is to stay and all these questions. And so here it is. Here is Angie. My guest today is Angie. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Victoria.
Hi,
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good too. Yeah. Thanks for being on my podcast. So I wanted to ask you, where are you from?
I have a little complicated story. Basically, I grew up in Southeast Asia,
Uh-huh.
but my mom is German and my father is Lao. And I've lived in many countries before finally settling to
Ah,
Switzerland.
okay. So what was the longest, or where was the longest place you lived before you moved to Switzerland?
um, Probably Laos.
Laos. Okay. All right. And then why did you decide to move to Switzerland?
I had to do a mandatory internship for my master's degree in translation.
Mm-hmm.
And since my languages were English and German into French, I had the choice between going to an English speaking country, going to Germany, but that wasn't very interesting because I'm German and I kind of know the country already. So I thought, why not try out Switzerland since it has both German and French?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's why I chose Switzerland basically.
Okay. And how long ago was that?
That was already 7 years ago.
Okay. And then have you just stayed there, or did you go back, or what's the story?
Yeah, the story kind of a long one, but I came there and I liked it so much. Normally, the internship was only supposed to last for about 4 months. It lasted 4 months, but I liked it so much that I wanted to stay longer in Switzerland. So I
Okay.
found another internship that was 1 year long. So it was after my master's degree, basically.
Okay.
And that's when I stayed for 1 year more.
Mm-hmm.
But I was in a long distance relationship at the time.
Okay.
And the plan was to move back to France because I lived in France. I
Ah.
studied in France.
Okay. That was
Um,
also a question I had. Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
So, as I
Uh-huh.
said, kind of a complicated story, a lot of back and forth.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so that was the main plan was to go back to France after finishing this internship. I had actually also planned to move everything. I moved everything basically,
Uh-huh.
and then at the last minute, I just realized, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to pack up my
Uh-huh.
stuff for somebody when I really liked where I lived. I really liked the place I was in
Okay.
Switzerland. I really liked my friends there, and I kind of felt like, I think it's actually the first time where I really feel at home and where
Uh-huh.
my heart tells me, yeah, I think you should stay.
Okay. And then did you break up with that relationship?
Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah.
went there for 3 days just to test it out because I thought maybe it's just, I don't know, cold feet. I mean, we have
Mhm.
lived together already before. It was yeah, we were already together for about 6 years.
Okay, okay, so a long time, yes.
Yeah, but I don't know. Something just told me, I think that's not right. I think that's not what you're supposed to do.
Okay. All right. And then after 3 days, you moved back or you went back to
Yeah,
Switzerland.
after 3 days, I took back all my stuff and said, "Yeah, I'm sorry." But
So wait, but
well, not
all your
really like
stuff?
that, but
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, yeah, but okay, but at least you I mean, whatever, you followed your heart, you did what it was right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I felt so free after that because it
Mhm.
was yeah, it was the weirdest decision ever, but I know it was the right one.
Okay. Oh, and so and you just said you took your stuff back? So, like, you just left your stuff in Switzerland?
No, I
No,
had
you
already
took
brought
everything?
everything. Yeah, I had already brought everything from Switzerland. I wasn't even registered in Switzerland anymore because when you live in Switzerland, you get the choice to, well, you have a work permit, and
Uh-huh.
if you want to prolongate it, then you have to like do a kind of you have to ask for a prolongation.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't because I was like, yeah, I'm not going to stay here anyway, so
Right,
why should I
right.
prolong? So I just let my work permit expire, and I was officially not in Switzerland anymore. I had closed all my bank accounts,
Oh, okay.
everything basically,
Okay.
to move to France. So at the last minute, I moved back and had to start over.
Okay. Oh, okay. So how did you do that then? I mean, because you were probably also homeless, I assume?
Yeah, the good thing is when you already know the country, you kind of make friends there. And
Right.
so I stayed at a friend's place for a while before finding a job
Oh,
and yeah, moving into my own place.
all right. And you all your stuff, you just put it in storage or
No, actually, I had some cartons that I just sent to my mom's place in Germany.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And I had also some cartons that were at my then ex's place
Right.
from his
Okay.
parents. So I had stuff all over the country basically. And when I was in France, I could stay at a friend's place when I was just sorting out everything.
Oh, okay, good. That's good to have family and friends not too far away.
Yeah, but still, Bordeaux and Karlsruhe is kind of a trip. So
Yeah,
I'm
it
glad that the
is.
post was.
I mean, it is probably like what, like 6 hours or something?
Oh,
5
I think even
hours
more. Yeah, yeah,
more?
yeah.
That's funny. Funny you say this. So your mom lives in Karlsruhe?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Oh,
studied in
she.
Karlsruhe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's a very it's a well-known city for studying
Yeah, yeah.
a lot of
Uh,
engineering.
oh, yeah, a lot of engineering. True. Um, did okay, so and then what about okay, what about your papers? I wonder. So it just like says like, okay, I figure it out later. First, I find a place, find a job, I guess as well. Everything,
Yeah.
or so. How, what was your procedure?
Well, at the time, I was really like all doors were open for me. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, if I
Uh
wanted to
huh.
be an independent translator or if I wanted to be an employee. But I had found like job offers in
Mhm.
Switzerland. So I kind of sent out different applications to several places. And one place in Lausanne, where I live now,
Mhm.
replied and asked for an interview. So that was also the right moment because I came back to Switzerland for the interview, basically.
Mhm.
And 2 weeks later, I had the job.
Okay. Good. That was also fast.
Yeah, I think also maybe because I work in an industry that's not very well. It is well known, but maybe there aren't so many like job offers.
Uh huh.
And I was just at the right time at the right
Right.
place.
Right. Yes. Okay. And then I have a question about Switzerland because Switzerland is always like neutral. Did you have to get like a visa or permit, or was this like
Yeah,
a complicated process?
for EU citizens, it's not a complicated process because they have accords with the EU basically. So if you're a German citizen, it's quite easy for you to work in Switzerland. I
Uh
mean,
huh.
there's no quota, but if you are not a EU citizen, then um, you have to be in the ranks basically. So you have to be a really good employee or have a really high qualifications or yeah, be somebody who they really need, and they have to prove to the government that they need you and not a Swiss person.
Ah, okay, I see. But I assume you already had like EU citizenship through your
Oh,
mom.
I'm German, so yeah.
Yeah, 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 exactly.
Yeah.
Um, all right, and and okay, so but mostly you grew up in Laos, but you visited Germany then all the time, or did you grow up in Germany at some point as well? Because
I did my last year of high school. I always went to a French school. That's also
uh-huh.
like to add to the exoticism of my life.
Okay, well, that's great.
So I did the last year of my high school in Berlin at the
Uh-huh.
French school there. And
I
then
see.
I also did some 1.5 years during my studies in Germany.
Okay, all right. So you lived there for a while, and then you also okay, and that's why you wanted to try something else.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. And so even though you probably you grew up with a German mom, was it like different for you to move there, move by yourself to Switzerland?
It was completely different because I had moved alone to France for my studies after Berlin. But I already lived without my mom when I was 17. So when I moved to Berlin, actually, I lived with my sister there because she lived there for a while.
Okay.
And so moving to France was actually more of the the most complicated procedure for me because they don't have the same insurance. Basically, health insurance was kind of a weird process for me.
Okay.
I don't know. I stuck to my German one because it was so complicated to get the papers in France. And
Hmm.
then, since I did a double bachelor between France and Germany, I said, okay, I'll leave it at that and just not worry about the French papers anymore. Like, if I'm
Mhm.
at least in order in Germany because I live there, then I don't care
Okay.
about France.
Okay.
But yeah, I think France was even more complicated than Switzerland. Switzerland was only weird because of the visa part, which I had no idea it existed,
Yeah.
but I figured it out.
And but then did you get like kind of the visa was it was like joined to your work?
Exactly. So I had an internship, right? So the
Uh-huh.
internship was only supposed to be 4 months long, and there are different work permit types in Switzerland. You have the short term work permits, you have the long term work permits, you have the unlimited one, and then you have the Swiss citizenship.
Uh-huh.
So my first work permit was a short term one, so it was only for 1 year. And then when I got the other internship, which was also a contract of 1 year, they prolongated it to another year. So they changed my work permit type. So I started out with I think it's the L work permit, and then I got the B work permit. And the B
Mhm.
work permit allows you to stay in Switzerland for at least 5 years.
Oh,
So
okay.
even if you don't have your work anymore, you can still live and work in Switzerland for five
Mhm.
years, and then
Okay.
you have to prolongate every time.
I see. Okay. That
Yeah.
makes sense. And okay, so going back to your start in Switzerland, so what were your expectations first before you moved there?
Honestly, I had no idea what to expect. I had only visited it once, I think
Mhm.
once to see a friend of mine who lives in Geneva. And the other time was just for my internship interview.
Uh-huh.
But I remember when I first came to Switzerland, I was like, "Wow, this is so beautiful! Is this even real?"
Uh-huh.
And I lived in a city called Biel. It's a bilingual city, so it has two names. It's called Biel and Bienne,
Mhm.
and it's French and German.
Okay.
And when I arrived there, I was just awestruck because it was exactly what I was like. It was the mix of cultures that I was. And that's when I
Ah, okay.
realized also, I think I could really call this place home.
All right. And can you go into that a little bit more? Like why was it like mixed in terms of
Well, the canton is bilingual, so French and
Uh-huh.
German. And since
Okay.
I have the German background from my mom and also
Uh-huh.
how I was brought up, but I have the French background as well because of school and university, friends, etc.
Uh-huh.
It was really like the perfect combination
Ah,
of both
okay.
worlds.
See, I did not know that about the canton.
Yeah, Bern is a bilingual one, and Biel is one of the bilingual cities in Switzerland. So you
Ah,
have
okay. Yeah.
both languages are spoken widely and mostly by everyone. So you can, when you go to the supermarket, you can just choose, what language shall I speak today, French or German?
Okay, what do you usually choose?
It was random.
Okay, whatever you felt like.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, because I always wonder, like in Switzerland, like, because like I know, of course, like they speak at some points they speak French, at some points they speak German, and other parts they speak Italian,
Ou
and
romanche.
yeah, so I'm always like, how do they communicate? Because I also know this Swiss woman, and she does not speak German, and I was always like, oh, I thought like everybody at least speaks German, Swiss German.
No, it really depends on the canton. And of course, at school, they learn, well, if you're from the French side of Switzerland, it's called Romandie.
Mhm.
You learn German at school. But as you know, most people at school don't really learn the language as
Right,
well.
right.
So yeah, most of them don't really speak German, and from the German side, they also learn French, and they also have exchange programs and everything. And I think most German speakers speak better French than the French side.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Italians are the best because they don't have a public university in their area, in their canton, so they have to go to university either in Romandie
Ah,
or in the German side. So they are the best because they know at least French or and German
okay. See, I did not.
if they
Oh,
go to
interesting.
study. Yeah,
Interesting. Because like the Italian part is so little.
it's not little, but it's very rural and it has a lot of mountains.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think the only university that is there is not public, so it's quite
Okay.
expensive to go there. And also, you don't have everything. So if you want to be, I don't know, a school teacher or something, then maybe you have to go study, or you'd better go
Sure.
study in
Somewhere else.
Romandie, or yeah.
Yeah, sure, that makes sense. And then okay, and then you okay, so okay, your expectations, we just talked about that. And then when you got there, like what struck you like as like a main difference?
Probably the cleanliness.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's
Because
a good one.
yeah, I lived in France before, and I was just like, wow, the streets are so clean here. I was just impressed,
Okay.
impressed by everything. Yeah.
That's a funny one. And so okay, so I mean you came as an internship, but so then they provided housing for you?
No, I had to look at that myself. So I
Uh-huh.
found that myself in advance. I had already asked my future colleagues if they knew of any platforms where I could look for
Right.
a shared flat. They sent me some links, but I also did my own research on Google. Where
Mhm.
else? And I found several websites that were interesting, and I had contact with some people that offered a room that was within my budget.
Okay. Okay. And so you were just then having roommates?
Exactly. So I had
Uh-huh.
my shared flat interview per Skype, and I also
Uh-huh.
visited the flat per Skype
Yeah.
because
Oh,
I
per
was in
Skype.
France.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I was in France, so it was a little of a long way to go to Switzerland just to visit an apartment or a
Right.
room.
Uh-huh. I understand. Yeah.
So I decided to go with the least expensive shared flat because it is quite expensive, especially if you are on an intern
Mm,
salary and you don't really know how much life will cost there. So
right.
I really said, okay, it's a tiny room, but at least it's right next to my workplace and the people look nice. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. And so how expensive was then Switzerland when you got to know it? Like your for a day-to-day life.
It was quite expensive, yeah. For example, when you go out in France to have a drink or something, you pay I don't know, for a beer you would pay maybe 5 euros maximum for a big one.
Mhm.
But in Switzerland it was the double, and
Oh, wow. That is
so
so expensive.
yeah, yeah. So it was a yeah. But then it depends also because they have different sizes here also. Maybe it's not the right
Okay.
comparison, but food and everything was quite more expensive than in France at
Mhm.
the time. And now I think the difference isn't that much anymore. Like
Right,
with inflation,
and going to the supermarket is also probably more expensive in Switzerland.
yeah, the meat especially is more expensive. Meat, yogurt, yeah. But now I feel like it's almost the same price. Maybe not for
Oh, wow.
meat, but especially for yeah, for cheese, the same. It's now I think it's the same price as in
Oh, wow,
France,
that's
more or
crazy.
less. Yeah,
Well, I'm sure.
alcohol obviously is cheaper in France,
Uh-huh.
but yeah,
Okay. And so you probably said this already, but I kind of forgot. So where you are now in Lucerne?
in Lausanne,
Lausanne. Okay, you are now in
yeah,
Lausanne. And what language do you speak there?
it's French.
It's French. And
Yes,
so for you, of course, that is not a problem.
exactly. It's not a problem.
Yeah. And so but so you also learned French growing up?
Yes, I went to a French school abroad.
I see. Okay. So because I always ask like ask everyone like how is the language? You know, like how do you learn? But
Yeah.
okay, I guess for you we can skip that the
But
language
there are
question.
some differences actually because
Uh-huh.
the French from Switzerland and the French from France is a little bit different. Like obviously you would understand one another, but
Mhm.
for me in my work industry, basically, so translating into French from Switzerland,
Mhm.
I had to get used to some differences, like cultural differences, and some words that are not used widely
Okay.
in Switzerland, whereas in France they would be used normally.
Ah, uh-huh.
So that was quite a little adaptation to have as well,
So
even if it's a big one.
so is it I mean if I compare it to the German, is it
Hmm.
like Swiss German and normal German?
No, not at all.
Ah, no.
No, no, it's just it's very similar. It's really like Swiss German you wouldn't understand as a German speaker,
Right.
or you would or
Have
you'll have difficulties
difficulties. Yes.
understanding. Yeah,
And for you, did you ever get used to that? To the
to Swiss
dialect?
German.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lived in Bern, so I got used to the dialect from Bern,
Yeah, but was
which
it
is
like in the
very hard to
beginning?
understand. Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
At the beginning it was very hard, especially not knowing like if they were speaking High German or like Swiss German to me because they had a some people had like a very strong accent even if they were speaking normal German.
Oh,
So I
okay.
would kind of get embarrassed because I wouldn't understand them even though they were actually speaking normal
Yeah.
German.
Do you have like an example for the listeners? Like one normal German word and then one Swiss German word that I mean I can think of one and you can tell me another one.
Hmm, I don't really know,
I
but
I can I say
yeah.
one? I know Küchenschrank, so
Hmm.
kitchen closet.
Yeah,
Is it Chuchiraschtli?
exactly.
Yeah,
But that's
so
a Swiss German word. So,
yeah.
but like for example, Swiss German is only an oral language, so it's not written. It's only spoken.
Mhm.
So everything that you can find, for example, in the supermarket and everything should be in normal German, except you won't find weird things. For example, instead of Hühnchen, you will see that they write Pouletschenkel or
Aha.
Pouletschenkli, but because
Okay.
poulet or yeah, poulet is
Pool.
actually the French word for chicken, so
Uh-huh.
they use that instead of Hähnchen or Hühnchen.
Ah, okay, I see. And I know like for bicycle it's vélo,
Vélo, yeah.
right? But this is also French, right? Isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. And
Yeah.
also, Gehweg, you wouldn't say Gehweg, you would say trottoir, like the
Okay.
French word. Yeah.
Ah, okay. So like sometimes they adapt from whatever language they feel like.
No, because it's really the right word.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah, I know it is, but it's like, hey, we just use it from that language.
Yeah, but they would never say, for example, Fahrrad, or they would only say it if they really know that you're German and you don't know anything about Switzerland.
Okay, I see. Yeah, yeah, got
Even
it.
if it's like normal German they speak to you, they would say Velo
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
Poulet.
Mhm. Okay, yeah. And, um, let me just check real quick. So what were like other or what was like cultural differences? You just said like you got struck that everything is so clean, but what about like certain habits the Swiss people have that were new to you?
I have to think about that because for me it was like it wasn't too much of any culture. For example, I feel like Germans are very cold sometimes,
Mhm.
whereas in Switzerland they kind of they some people would say they are cold, but I think it really depends on the region. I feel like they also kind of have this Mediterranean flair where they really like to go and have drinks outside. Wine is a real big part of the culture. You wouldn't know that because the Swiss part or the wine that comes from Switzerland is only used for internal purposes. They're not exported. So
Ah,
most people don't even know that Switzerland has wine.
see me too.
It's really good.
Yeah.
So if you enjoy wine, then try Swiss wine.
Uh-huh.
And so they kind of have this mix between the culture of being very polite, very respectful, like in the German culture, more than in the French culture.
Mhm.
But they also have this joie de vivre, and I don't know. They like to party. They like to have drinks and have apéro, and that's like more of the French side.
Okay. All right. And earlier you said when you were first in Switzerland, it was like the first time you really felt like at home. Do you know why?
Yeah, I think it's really like this mix of cultures, where you can hear the language that you're most comfortable with. So, for example, for me, French. But then you're also in a country that functions way better than France.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So it's also that contrast. I
Okay.
kind of have this maybe I like this German rigidness,
Uh-huh.
but I also like the French more relaxed part of things of the culture. So yeah, I feel like Switzerland has kind of the best of both worlds. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
And okay, so I guess like for a lot of people, if they imagine living in Switzerland, they just think like, oh yeah, we're going into the mountains all
Hmm.
the time and we're going on hikes and
And that's
whatever.
true.
You do that? Yes. Yes.
Definitely. Yeah, yeah. But when you see the landscape here, I mean, you wouldn't even have a choice. It's so beautiful.
Uh-huh. That's just really what you want to do because it's so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The lakes are beautiful. Like you can swim in the river in the middle of a city. I don't know any other capital city where you can do that.
Mm, yeah. Uh,
So for me it's like, yeah, really the quality of life here is just amazing.
okay, nice. And so would and I mean like I don't know, this is like such a um hard question, but would you ever see yourself moving somewhere else?
I think for the time being, no, but I can set yeah, you should never say never,
Yeah, exactly. You
right?
never know, but you like it a lot, so you would also
Yeah.
wouldn't mind staying there.
Yeah, I think I'd like to keep Switzerland as a home base,
Mhm.
but then why not spend some time abroad
Right. And
just to see what it's
yeah.
like in other countries as well? Because I only know like Southeast Asian countries or Germany and France and Switzerland.
Mhm. And do you remember like when you first got there how you made friends?
It started with my flatmates. Basically,
Uh-huh.
they were the ones who introduced me then to their friends, and then I made friends that way. But I also made friends from my internship. We were several younger people in the office, and they had organized a monthly apéro where
Okay.
they would meet everybody. So it was an organized networking thing. And that's when I met a lot of people, and then I met friends through friends.
Okay. Oh, sure. Friends from friends. Yes.
Yeah, and then
Mhm.
also through hobbies, but that was later.
Okay. All right. Okay. So you kind of also were interactive too. You really like.
Well, I know that that to make friends you need to go out a little bit
Yeah, I
of
guess
yourself.
this is like always right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's also very easy when you go after your hobbies to make friends there because you already have something that you share in common.
Right. That's true. That's true. And is there something that you miss from, for example,
From
from
where?
Laos?
Yeah, the food probably, and my family.
Is your family also still there? Part
Yeah, I
of
have
it?
my father who's still there, as well as my grandparents, cousins, aunts, and uncles, and everything, on my paternal side.
Okay. And how often do you visit?
I have visited them quite a while, or quite a few times, these past few years, because I had a renovation project on my house. Was my childhood home there, and I had a project to renovate the house and rent it out. And now the project is over because we found tenants. So it's kind of a checked a checked off
Like,
project.
yes.
So I'm not sure when I'll be back, but I was there last year.
Okay. And anything else? Like everybody always says like food and friends and family, but is there like anything maybe from the community that you miss that is like that you don't get from Switzerland where you're now?
Maybe I think it's more of the family side, where you can just go over there and just know that you always have somebody there.
Mhm.
Whereas here, maybe you feel more, or you could feel more alone
Yeah.
because you know that you don't really have family near. But that's not true anymore because now I have my mom here, I have my sister here.
Oh, they all moved they
They
all lived
moved
in the
after.
same city?
No, no, not in the same city, but they moved to Switzerland after me, basically.
Ah, okay. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
And it's probably not too far.
It's about a 2-hour train ride to my mom's place.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, the same for my sister.
Okay. Well, that's good for you.
Yeah,
They're nice,
so
yes.
they're kind of getting closer now.
Yeah,
But I remember during COVID, it was a very weird feeling
right.
because I was just, okay, I'm here and I have nobody. What should I do?
Right. And I mean, COVID was such a weird time because you were
It
like
was
locked in your house. Actually, I don't know how was Switzerland.
it was very easygoing. We could go out.
Oh, you could go
Yeah,
out. There were
yeah,
no
we
like
could go
restrictions.
into the mountains, and there were restrictions. Like, I don't know why, but they would, for example, in the supermarket, they would they would close off the section where you could buy books and clothes because the normal bookstores and clothes shops were closed, so they wouldn't allow supermarkets to sell that either.
Uh-huh.
But um, yeah, I think we had it pretty good here.
Okay.
It was just a weird feeling that the
That's good.
borders were closed.
Right. Okay. No,
Yeah,
you couldn't even right. You could not go to visit to Germany, right?
exactly.
Right. I mean, it's so weird that the borders
It's
are
so
closed in
weird.
Europe, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Especially in Europe. So I was really feeling like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Um, I wanted to ask you about your Instagram channel.
Yes.
Because I saw you doing like coaching. So let's talk about this a little bit. Explain about it. Explain it a little
Yeah.
bit. Uh-huh.
Basically, my Instagram started, well, during COVID, actually.
Ah, uh-huh.
I started being interested in more creative stuff. I signed up to how do you say, content creation course online.
Uh-huh.
So at first, I was just having fun and doing nice edits and everything. But then it came to a point in the course where you had to kind of niche down or specialize in something.
Mhm.
And I wondered, yeah, what am I good at and how can I help people? Like, what do I do anyway? And the one thing that I do anyway is answer questions about my life in Switzerland, about how I became an expat, how
Uh-huh.
life is here. And I remembered also, like, when I first came here, I was so lost with all the admin stuff. I didn't know how everything worked. And I had the advantage that I understood the languages directly because I understand
Mhm.
perfectly German. I understand perfectly French. I speak both languages fluently. So for me, that wasn't the problem, but it was more like the adaptation to the procedures, how everything is different, the visas, how does it work, how do I find lodging? Like I spent so many hours figuring everything out by myself.
Mhm.
So I thought, I could really like help other people with this, with my knowledge.
Uh-huh.
And then the coaching part came later when I realized also the emotional side of being abroad, of
Okay.
living far away from your family, of maybe um, having some difficulties making friends. Um, and I thought I could really like help more people with that
Okay.
through my Instagram channel.
So is this also like the coaching part, like how to make friends, or is this what is the coaching for?
It's a little bit of everything. It depends on your own journey, of course. Most
Uh-huh.
people are interested, for example, in moving to Switzerland. So I will help with that procedure, with finding a job, making sure that your CV and job application, cover letter, etc., is adapted to the Swiss market
All right. Mm-hmm.
because they do have differences to other countries.
Yeah.
So that's more of the admin side. But then there's
Mhm.
also the more of self development, personal development side, where it's
Okay.
also about confidence, because most people struggle maybe with a little bit of confidence, especially with self confidence. For making friends, for example, a lot
Right.
of people say, I don't know how to make friends in Switzerland, like people are so cold and everything. But then you just have to kind of realize that it's also a mirror, no?
Right, right. Mm-hmm.
So that's like the more personal development, spiritual side that I also like and have tools for in my coaching.
I see. Okay, cool. Okay, I will mention that. I will post a link to that in the show notes
Thank you.
so people can find you. And if anybody is listening who is interested in moving to Switzerland, I hope they reach out to you as like a good resource.
Yes, I hope so.
Yeah. Okay. And okay. So, do you see yourself now more still like an expat, or do you feel like, oh, like almost Swiss? I'm here to stay.
Yeah, exactly. That's also kind of like it's been kind of my struggle also to keep this name expat on my
I know.
Instagram, because it's like I don't even relate to that word anymore.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And I feel also maybe it's the English word of expat, but I feel in German Auswanderer sounds so much nicer because I don't know, it's less connotated to, you're a rich expat who just goes to a country to work and then you go back
Yeah,
to your
exactly.
home. Yeah. And for me, it's
Exactly.
like, I don't think that I'm ever going back. I
Yeah,
think I should just call myself now future Swiss to be
I
or
know. I
something.
also, yes, but I'm with you because I also like don't really like that word.
Yeah.
Because it always just sounds like you're just there for a little while. You're just there for a year or for 2 years. And I mean, also for the podcast, I call it that way. So it reaches that audience. But I mean, for me, I don't feel like an expat either. You
Yeah. How
know,
long have you lived in the US, is it?
I'm for over 10 years.
Oh, okay.
So I think like altogether, it's coming to 13 years.
Wow,
So,
yeah.
like, I mean, of course, I'm not an American, and I will always be German, but I
Yeah.
don't see myself, oh, I'm just there for like a short while. We have a house, we have a family here, so it
Yeah.
doesn't feel
Yeah,
like I'm
you've
just
kind of
there.
settled there,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. So I also like my kids go to public school here, so yeah, no, it doesn't feel like expat.
Yeah, I also think that when you're well integrated, you feel more at home than as an expat, because like expats are supposed to go back one day and we're not sure yet.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly, exactly. No, but also I'm like I never like really 100% what the word really means. Like even if you say like Auswanderer, so that means it's like immigrant, right?
It's like emigrant, yeah,
Immigrant, yeah.
but immigrant for yeah, especially in the US, I feel is very politically connotated.
I know, and
So it's
I
not
don't. It's not the same, exactly, because like an immigrant always has that image. You're coming to a country with like a bad economy. You know, you kind of want to have a better life for yourself, but I mean, this is not always the case. You know,
exactly.
so
Yeah, I feel the same. For me, it's also complicated to kind of stick to that word, and I think I'll probably change it one day, but I don't know to what yet. I have to
I
figure
think,
it out.
yeah, I think, I mean, this is like a great way of being found for that audience that you're looking for.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, still, like, you don't have to feel it for yourself.
yeah. But then I think it also gets more difficult because you don't really relate to that word. So it's more difficult also to, for me, for example, as a content creator, to create content for expats because most expats go home one day. And for me, I'm not sure that's going to be the case. So,
Mhm.
yeah, how do I navigate that without just being complete, I don't know, fake?
Right, right.
Because I'm doing content for people that are not really like me. I
But
don't know.
then but then also maybe the people that you are reaching, they also wanna be like you sometime, you know, they start there, but then maybe in, like, a few years, they're like,
Yeah,
have you
that's
as a nice
true.
example to see, like, hey, she started as an expat, but now
Yeah,
she feels totally at home, and she's
yeah.
not going back.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why also I added into my bio, like helping you feel at home in
Ah,
Switzerland.
yeah, okay, that's a good one, yeah.
Kind of
That
fits
is a good
everything
one.
together.
Yeah, and, uh okay, but I still wanna ask you that one question. If there was anything that you or that was there anything that you had a hard time getting used to?
In Switzerland,
Mhm.
one thing that is a little bit hard or harsh in Switzerland is that they are very strict about rules. I think it's probably also a very German thing,
Mhm.
but it's everywhere in Switzerland. And like I don't know. I feel like there's this mentality of denunciating your neighbors or like other people. I mean, it can also be in a good way. For example, I know that every time something doesn't make any sense, I noticed, for example, my boyfriend who's Swiss, he would take a picture and he would actually write to the commune and tell them, hey, this park is filthy, you know, like stuff like that.
Okay, okay.
Where I would just think, like, I would never think of doing that
So,
because for
he's,
me,
like,
it's just like,
officially complaining?
yeah.
Okay, uh-huh.
And a lot of Swiss people do that. I mean, it's good because it makes things go forward, you know.
Uh-huh.
I also have
Oh.
a boyfriend of a friend of mine. He wrote to a very big supermarket chain, Swiss one, because he complained that the cucumbers were all covered in plastic, and it was like bio cucumbers. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like how?
Mhm.
Why would you
Use
wrap your
plastic.
cucumbers in
Sure.
plastic if it's supposed to be organic? And yeah, so that just doesn't make any sense. And he actually won because they banned the plastic now on
Nice.
some supermarkets or in some cucumbers in some
Nice.
supermarkets.
Well, that's a applause.
Yeah, but then there's also the other side that makes it, for example, when your neighbor denunciates you because it's 10:05 p.m. and you're not supposed to do any noise anymore after 10 p.m. And if you live in an old building, then, for example, you could directly have the police
Oh my god, yes.
at your door
But
because you were too noisy
you're also not allowed to walk anymore, right?
and you were supposed to flush your toilet either. Like, I'm not sure if it's still a real rule. I have read that it is, but I'm not sure it's really being implemented because it's only valid for like older buildings, which makes sense because if you flush the toilet like late in the night,
Be
then
loud.
you wake up the whole house.
Uh-huh, okay. Ah,
But
interesting.
that's like the only thing where I think it's really, it's
And
not the best.
okay, and rules are not there to be bent. Rules are there to
Yeah,
be like followed.
yes. I mean, some rules make sense, but some
Uh-huh.
rules are just like, why are you being so complicated about this?
Okay. Yeah, okay. So in terms like that, it sounds like very strict.
Yeah, exactly. It is
Okay,
quite
got
strict.
it.
So you have a
Got it.
lot of rules, and if you're not somebody who likes rules, then probably Switzerland is too strict for you.
Okay. Well, it sounds like a lot of I don't want to say this, but it sounds like a lot of like elderly people that are complaining.
Exactly. Yeah, but it kind of makes sense also because Switzerland has a lot of elderly people.
Okay. Yeah. So is it like a also like a declining population?
Yeah,
I see.
I
Okay.
think the population or the birth rate is highest amongst immigrants,
Mm.
so foreign people and not Swiss.
Okay, they don't like that.
I don't know if they don't like that or not, but yeah, you kind of do have a side of the more rural Switzerland that thinks, yeah, yeah, they shouldn't be here.
Right, right,
But
right.
at the
I
same
guess.
time, they contribute to the economy. So,
Right. Yeah, exactly. They do. Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, you have this thinking everywhere in the world.
yes,
It just depends, like how loud they are screaming.
yes.
Yeah. All right. I think I have no more questions for you. Thank you so much for being on my podcast. That was a lot of
You're
fun.
welcome. It was very nice.
Right. It's just Yeah, that was my interview with Angie. You can find her Instagram account, Expats in Switzerland, in my show notes. And reach out to her if you have questions about moving to Switzerland, if you need more info all about that Switzerland topic. I think she's a good person to reach out to. Okay, and also if you want to reach out to me, you find all the information as well in the show notes. It's like the TikTok, the Instagram, my email address, all this. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode and you will tune in again for the next one. Until then, I will see you. Bye.